Hey guys, welcome back to Top 10 Gaming. I'm Ron Mackenzie Lafergie. Sonic is one heck of a popular character. He shows up in games, shows, comics, pretty much every medium under the sun. As such, we've seen a whole lot of different versions of the guy over the years. Now let's talk about some of them. So buckle up, it's time for the top 10 alternate versions of Sonic. Number 10. Lego Sonic. This one's quite unique looking with the Lego body just like the other characters in the Lego games. But this guy's pretty different in terms of personality as well. He's still the same happy-go-lucky speedster, but he also seems to be quite self-aware and actually makes jokes about the real world, as is pretty common in the Lego games. He makes various references to internet memes and various pop culture things like The Simpsons. Is he as funny as Lego Batman? I don't think so, but he's pretty great. Number 9. Archie Sonic. This is the Sonic that we see in the comics by Archie Comics. These comics are quite popular and were around for a whopping 24 years before being cancelled this year. The comics followed two main continuities. From issue 1 to 247, it took place on Mobius, which turned out to actually be a future Earth around the year 14,000. After Mobius was hit with a Genesis wave, Mobius and the alternate realities were all totally changed up, with Mobius looking more like the world found in the Sonic games. Sonic himself is pretty similar in these storylines, and his personality is pretty much the same as in the games, but it's pretty great seeing him in Archie comic style. Plus, the other entries on this list come from these comics, so it's pretty important that you have a grasp on them. Number 8. Stealth the Hedgehog. Stealth comes from Mobius 17, and it's actually based on Spider-Man, which is pretty neat. At first glance, it's hard to tell that he's specifically Spidey, but when you consider that Eggman is Professor Egg and based on Green Goblin, it's much clearer that Sonic is based on Spidey. This version wears a mask and battles against the villainous Professor Egg. Fun fact, there was actually another version of Sonic that straight up wore a Spider-Man costume. Nice! Number 7. Sonark. Sonark was an alternate version of Sonic from the Sentai Zone. I repeat, the Sentai Zone, with an S. Do not mishear me and look up something else or you're in for a shock. He was a member of the Sonic-A-Man Chaos Ninja Team who was summoned by Zonic when Salaktor was attacking. Sonark was actually based on Ken the Eagle, a member of a superhero team in the anime Gatchaman, as you can kinda tell from the team name Sonic-A-Man. I love parody versions of other characters and Sonic is certainly not without those. Speaking of which, number 6. SonicZilla. As with other members on this list, this Sonic was a parody of another popular character. Can you guess who it is? Yes, it's Godzilla. This Sonic, as well as the other members of the Freedom Fighters from his dimension, was changed into a giant monster by Chaos Emerald radiation and threatened the city. After his father, Zilla, was accidentally killed by the real Sonic using the giant Robotno machinery, SonicZilla broke down, mourning the death of his father. It's a pretty sad story, but they were giant mutated things that were destroying the city. And we're kind of asking for it. Number 5. Cyborg Sonic. In this Sonic's dimension, Robo-Robotnik turned the Freedom Fighters into cyborgs in hopes of defeating them, but they used their cybernetic enhancements to fight back. But then Robotnik turned himself into a robot and took out the majority of the fighters, with Cyborg Sonic being the only known survivor. He eventually went to Mobius Prime to get help and managed to defeat Robo-Robotnik, getting by with a little help from his friends, and alternate versions of himself. Something tells me that isn't quite what the Beatles had in mind when they wrote those lyrics. Number 4. Sonic. With a K. This Sonic had a similar origin to our usual Sonic, but this time he was tricked by Robotnik into being fired into space on a rocket. As luck would have it, he ran into some aliens called the Pearl Men who gave him a spacesuit that could let him survive out in space. Then they sent him drifting into space in suspended animation. 1,000 years later, he returned to Mobius and formed the Freedom Fighters of the Galaxy, with various descendants of the Knothole Freedom Fighters. They went on to kick some butt and even take on the planet-devouring Robalactus, who's essentially a combination of Robotnik and Galactus. So this is basically Starlord Sonic. Cool. Number 3. Anti-Sonic. This is what Scourge was known as before he changed. He's kind of like Prime Sonic if Prime Sonic was a character in Grease, or if he got the Venom symbiote on him and decided to prance around like Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 3. He killed his father to become the ruler of Mobitropolis with the help of Auntie Sally. He eventually went to Prime Mobius and tried to woo all the sexy females, pretending to be Sonic himself. When he was confronted by Rouge, who saw through him, he absorbed the radiation of the Master Emerald, becoming the Green Scourge. If you watch Top 10 Nerd, you'll know that I love me some evil versions of characters, so this was particularly enjoyable for me. Number 2. Sonic the Bog Hog. Sonic the Bog Hog is the prehistoric version of Sonic from prehistoric Mobius, called the Bog Hog because there weren't any hedges back then apparently. He's the leader of the prehistoric Freedom Fighters, living in fear of attacks from their enemy Ivo Robugnik and the dangerous Mobasaurs. Sonic arrived in this time to find the fighters planning to live underground to hide, which made him worry that he'd change into Sonic the Mole if this past became reality. So he helped them to plant hedges, creating the Great Forest. It's kind of a silly story, but hey, Sonic is often silly, and it's pretty great seeing him with that sick beard. Number 1. Sonic. Sonic comes from the no zone, which is 90 degrees from everywhere. Due to the perpendicularity of his zone to other zones, yes that's a word, he often shows up sideways in other realities. He works as a zone cop. A lot of the time when dimension hopping's happening, Sonic isn't far behind. He's even often the cause of the hopping. He frequently recruits our Sonic to help out in other dimensions because our Sonic is a freaking boss, but he isn't only concerned with Sonic. For example, when Mammoth Mogul was trying to destroy every zone, he called upon the alternate versions of Tails to help him, who merged into Titan Tails to stop Mogul. So yeah, Sonic's kind of a boss too. That's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please smack that thumbs up button and subscribe to Top 10 Gaming for more videos. Which of these versions did you like most? Let me know in the comment section down below. Until next time, I'm Ron McKenzie LaForgia with Top 10 Gaming. Later, gamers.